In this tutorial, we're going to learn about iterators in C++ and how to use them in our projects. By the end of this video, in less than 10 minutes, you'll be able to understand this code and write your own iterators with confidence. Let's start. First of all, what is an iterator? An iterator is an object that allows you to traverse through a sequence of elements, one by one. It is like a guide that leads you through a collection without revealing the underlying implementation details. To illustrate this concept, imagine you want to visit a museum and explore all of its exhibits. Let's say you want to visit the Museum of Sparta in Greece, my hometown. It is a small museum with 7 rooms and a few hundred items on display. You can explore the museum on your own, or you can hire a guide to accompany you. But in a museum like this one, you can easily navigate through the exhibits one after another because the rooms are all arranged sequentially. Just like a vector in C++, we can easily access each item in the collection using its index. Now imagine you want to explore the Louvre, the largest museum in the world. It is a building with 750,000 square meters of floor space, 1,500 times larger than the Museum of Sparta, with many rooms, levels, and over 500,000 exhibits. How can you explore a building like this without a guide? This is similar in a way to an unordered map in C++. In an unordered map, we don't have an index to access the elements directly. We need a guide to lead us through the collection. In the Louvre, you need a guide. In data structures in C++, we need iterators. They are our guides through the data. The iterator knows how to locate every accessible element in a data structure. We don't need to know anything about the internal structure of the data structure to access an element. The iterator will get it for us. Let's see a simple example. Here I have a vector of some elements. Let's print them all in the console. We already know 2 methods to achieve that. The first one is to use a standard for loop, and the other one is to use a range-based for loop. Check this video out for more details. Now we are going to do the same thing using iterators. As we said, the iterator is an object. Each data structure contains its own iterator. Since we have a vector here, we are going to use the iterator of the vector data structure. std::: vector int : iterator it. We just created an iterator object and we named it it. Now we need to tell the iterator, look at the vector I just gave you and point to the first element of the vector. This is done using the begin method. It is equal to numbers, that's the name of the vector, dot begin. Now the iterator is pointing to the first element of the vector. We can access the value of the element using the star operator. Cout, star it, end line. This will print the value of the first element of the vector, which is 1. To move the iterator to the next element in the vector, we can use the ++ operator or the += operator. it++ or it += 1. Now the iterator is pointing to the second element of the vector. We can access the value of the element using the star operator again. Cout, star it, end line. This will print the value of the second element of the vector, which is 2. Perfect. We can automate this procedure by using a while or a for loop. Let's use a while loop to start. We have to check if the iterator has reached the end of the vector. The end method of the vector returns an iterator that points to the element past the last element of the vector. So we type while parentheses it less than numbers dot end brackets cout asterisk it and a space and then it ++. This while loop prints all the elements of the vector to the console. See? Iterators are not that hard after all, are they? We can also replace this while loop with a for loop. For parentheses it equals numbers.begin, it less than numbers.end, IT++. Perfect. As you can see, we have a working example of an iterator in a for loop. What if we wanted to omit the first two elements of the vector? When starting the for loop, we could just point the iterator to the third item like this, +2 here. And what if we wanted to also exclude the last item of the vector? We could add -1 here. And what if we wanted to print every other element? Instead of moving the iterator by one element, we can move it by 2 like this. It plus equals 2. Perfect. Iterators are very versatile. As we mentioned earlier, iterators are not limited to vectors. They can be used to iterate over any data structure that has a begin and an end method. Let's use an iterator to print all the elements of an unordered map. An unordered map is a container that stores key value pairs. Here I have created an example where we have an unordered map named people. This map stores the name and the age of some people. Now let's use an iterator to print all the names and ages of the people in the unordered map. First, we're going to create an iterator. std::, unordered map, string, int, : iterator, it. Now let's use a for loop and the iterator to loop through all the elements of this unordered map. For, parenthesis, it is equal to people.begin, it is not equal to people.end, it++, and curly brackets. And now let's print the items. std::cout, name, : it first, age, : it second, and std end line. If we now execute this code, we can see all the items of the map printed at the console. Perfect. Our for loop with iterators works. In this example, we use the operator not equal to terminate the for loop. We can't use the less than operator in the unordered map, so we use the more generic and flexible not equal comparison. This operator can be used with the iterator of every collection. We can use a trick here. In this line of code, we create the iterator. That's a very long line of code. We can comment out this line of code and create the iterator inside the for loop here. But instead of writing this long line of code again here, we can just write auto. The compiler will understand that the variable it is going to be an iterator because the begin method returns an iterator. This little trick saves us a lot of typing. If we run the code one more time, all the elements of the container appear, as before. Perfect. With this, you now know how to create an iterator and how to use it with C++. We are going to use iterators a lot in the upcoming Space Invaders game in C++. So be sure to practice working with them in simple projects like this one. Thanks for watching and be sure to subscribe for more videos like this one. I'll see you next time.